So today is a update on GPS and steering. Predominantly, it's going to cover off Z2 and Steadysteer, but also just will be a bit of a refresher on all of the system components that are required. Touch on installation, setup, some troubleshooting and performance ideas, and tips and tricks, as well as some ordering steps, like how to use the order site to help quote it out, and lastly finishing with some feedback from you guys. Tell us what you think. So today I've got Harry with co-hosting with me, so he's going to be watching the chat. So for people like Dino, who doesn't have a microphone that works, can send the chat questions and messages in. He can stop me and jump in where necessary if there's any questions. So let's key one there. Doug's on, Sandy's on. They'll chip in where necessary as well. Get into it. So the first one, to start things off, Zoom's got this little thing called polls. So I'll start with the first poll. Hopefully this should come up on your screen. Just so we can start off, how many of you have purchased a Z2 or a Steadysteer yet? So 1 of 9 people have worked out how to do it. 2, 4, 5. Six of the 9. I'll stop it there because it's like 6 of them. 6 of you have answered, and I doubt anyone else is going to answer. So 5 to 1. So good to see that a lot of you guys have actually purchased a Z2, which is see the poll results there. So glad that no one has selected what are they. Hopefully some of the information that we've provided on it so far has come out to you, and you've got a bit of the background on what it does. So some of the system components to work with Z2 and Steadysteer. Nothing much has changed here. We still need a display. We still need a GPS receiver. Our ECU is now an SCM, and depending on what system, we either have our MDU and ring gear for the Steadysteer, or we have potentially a valve wheel angle sensor, be that an aftermarket or an ISO or steer ready machine. So I'm going to go through these different components one by one, and talk about them, starting with displays. For the new system, there is a requirement that it only works with an in-command display. So so on an in-command display, we need to be running version 6 or later firmware. Due to changes in cabling, we have display cable kits, these 410, 1316 and 317, 15-foot and 22-foot power cables. respectively there. The work with the in commands. Key thing there is that the Ethernet cable that was included in the display cable is now included in the with the steering controller. So we've been able to remove that from the display cable. So these display cable kits are a bit cheaper than the old ones. Doesn't stop you if you've got a customer that's already got an old display cable. It's still everything's still going to work the same. It's just that there's going to be the Ethernet connector in the back of the displays. There's going to be a wire hanging out going forward. So everyone's familiar with the 1200 and the 800. Also launched with the new steering system, it's been the in-command 800 guidance only, or 800 Go. Idea behind this is that it's for targeting the entry-level steering market. So as we can't use a compass to make us a bit more cost-effective there, we've gone to the 800, de-featured it. So as you can see in the screenshot there, all the other features apart from guidance have been grayed out and locked out. As it's just de-featured, there's an unlock available to take that back to being a fully featured in-command 800. However, it's only available to be purchased in bundles. So 2 bundles available. One is combined with a Steadysteer and a 6000 receiver. And there's also the 4100 289 there, which is bundled with a CAN-only steer command and a 7500 receiver. So we can discuss it in a bit more detail later on here about the purchasing and what's actually included in those kits. But yeah, so main point to take out of that is these are available, but are only available to purchase in bundles. So as a refresher around our GPS receivers, current generation receivers, we've got the GPS 6000 and the 7500. 6000, very entry-level receiver, free-to-air only, works with the Steadysteer. 7500, a lot more options there correction-wise. TerraStar L, TerraStar C Pro, and RTK. Also potential there when it's released to go to TerraStar X as well. So refresh there on our correction types and the accuracies. It's TerraStar L, 15 to 20 centimeters, TerraStar C Pro, 5 centimeters, X 2.5, RTK 2.5. So may have seen it announced. Just to clarify, earlier in the year, there were emails sent out about the TerraStar L subscriptions that were included with the 7500 for free for the first 12 months. That has been renegotiated, and that offer is available again. So any purchase of a any purchase of a 7500 comes with 12 months of TerraStar L. So, cool.
For a second.
Yep.
Dino's asking, have we got a specific release date and price on that TerraStar X?
Yep. So TerraStar X, as it stands at the moment, is only available in the Midwest in the States. The last that I've heard on release timeframe, we should see it at the end of the year. So that's pretty exciting there. From a price perspective, the subscription is the same price as TerraStar C Pro, and only requirement for X compared to Pro is that you need an RTK unlock for the receiver instead of the TerraStar C unlock. So a little bit more upfront, cost there with the unlock, but similar price on the subscription. So. My understanding is that the release will be the rest of the world, so that should cover off Japan as well at that time. So that's my understanding, is that it's been tested in the Midwest, and then the release will cover the rest of the world. So. So now the things that have changed, the actual SCM. So the steering control module, or SCM, same module used between integrated and assisted steering. Easy swap between vehicles. So gone to the same connector as on the 7500 with the, so no tools required, as long as the little clips there to make it a bit easier to lift the locking tab. Same bolt pattern as a NAV2. So mounting options on C&H machines a little bit easier. Similar to the old steer command or ECU S1, 9-axis terrain compensation. A little bit different is in that it's self-orienting, so no longer do we need to work out the exact angles to enter. Still communicates with the display via Ethernet, as I mentioned there. So same one between integrated and assisted steering. Different variations available. So master steer sort of suggests everything's unlocked. So CAN, steady steer, hydraulic system. CAN only option or variant works on CAN steer machines. So John Deere ISO, AGCO, the new case machines that CAN can unlock out to master steer. Thing to note is that it only works for CAN steer. Steady steer is not, it can't do steady steer. Steady steer version comes with the steady steer kit. Again, it's unlockable to master steer. So maybe this makes it a little bit clearer of where we can go with the variations. We've got steady steer, CAN only, both can be unlocked using the master steering unlock to master steer. So hopefully that provides some options there for customers upgrading machines in the future. So. So when we talk about a SCM kit, comes with the SCM, comes with the power and input-output cable, as well as an Ethernet cable. So the key one to note there, as you can see here, is that we've got that separate Ethernet cable for communicating with the display. So you can see it's got the same connector as what's on the back of the in-command to connect in. Sort of covers that off. So what happens when we pair it with a Steadysteer? So Steadysteer, some refreshers on this, compatible with any receiver. So no limitation there. So having to use our receiver, though needs to be a receiver that's capable of outputting 10 Hertz. So suggest not using a Garmin hockey puck or anything like that. Something of reasonable quality there. Has a detachable MDU. So our main MDU here is the part that detaches, and the ring, this complete ring gear remains on the vehicle. So a lot quicker to attach and remove. Yeah. And less chance of misalignment like we were having with the on-track 3. 24-volt brushless motor, so high torque, high response. It's a direct drive motor, so there's no gearboxes, no clutches. Yeah, some advancement there for the steering performance. And at this stage, as the radius of the anti-rotation pin is the same as the on-track 3, so the same steering kits, in the most part, are supported as with the on-track 3. So hopefully, when things start settling down, we can start developing some more anti-rotation kits.
Just a couple of questions with that, Andrew.
Yeah.
Can it be used with Paradigm?
That's a no. Yep. Unless, well, yes, but no. The way you would have to use the Paradigm, you would have to be outputting a NEMA feed from the Paradigm into the display, like as though it's another GPS feed. Would you agree with that, Sandy?
Yeah. But yeah, I've gone.
But yes, it's not like you can steer it directly use the MDU with the Paradigm.
Yep. The other question was, can we view the SCM unlocks in the diagnostics somewhere just to check what they're unlocked to?
Yes. So multiple ways of seeing that. As a good starting point is the part number that the SCM actually is. But there is a, similar to a display, there is a features tab in the diagnostics, which shows us what features it's unlocked for. So we can also, yeah, there's some other spots there as well that we can see it. So. Other notes that I've got here, as I said, high torque, quick switch. Because of that torque, we've seen greatly improved line acquisition performance, as well as its ability to steer curved paths, just due to that quicker response time. The MDU is weather sealed as well, so has a high high IP rating. So is suitable for use in, I'd say it's weather sealed, that it's open cab, probably better suited to open cab situations. Other point is that this the ring has got more mounting locations for the anti-rotation pin, meaning that we can mount it so that the MDU is actually in a better position, which has been a problem in the past with some machines. So. So what comes in a Steadysteer kit? Steadysteer SCM, the MDU and the ring. So so we've got the SCM in the kit. Discussed previously. So with that SCM part of the kit, we've got the Ethernet cable and the main power and input-output cable. We've got the MDU and the ring. We've got some hardware kit, some mounting zip ties and the likes. We've got the main cable going from the MDU to the SCM. Where it's different from a on-track is that this cable actually connects to the main input-output cable. So we end up with only using one port out of the SCM. Also different from the on-track kit. No top ring included. There's no mounting brackets, which is the same as the on-tracks used to come with a generic mounting bracket, and no different there. We still need an anti-rotation kit. So. Like the on-track, we have a switch kit available. So as you can see in the picture, we have the ring gear, another anti-rotation pin, another power cable for the from the MDU to the SCM, and the power input-output cable. One thing to note is that there's no Ethernet cable. I currently have it have a question into the States about including this in the switch kit, seeing that we've got all the other cables that are required. So stay tuned to when that we'll announce that if that changes. But note that with the switch kit, we need to order another Ethernet cable. The anti-rotation bracket kits. Example there of what's included. Depending on the kit, it comes with the generic custom top ring. The brackets, so the steel brackets, are common to the on-track 3. As I said, same radius, same sort of mounting points. So yeah, some opportunity there if you're potentially replacing an on-track 3 that you've made up some sort of a custom bracket for. The same custom bracket should work. Yeah, part numbering wise, they'll follow similar to the old kit. So the X's here will be the same, potentially with a 0 in front of it, as the kit that you've been using in the past. So off that. So now to integrated steering, things that have changed here. So the Z2 SEM is the integrated steering options. So 2 variants there for, we've got the CAN only option, or the master for steering valve installs or vehicles that are non-ISO steer ready machines. This stage requires a 7500 or a 6500. Just there to reasoning still behind that is we're expecting high performance out of these units, and we're wanting to make sure that from a troubleshooting perspective, we can rule out GPS quality due to it being our receiver. So what do we need? Discussed. There's the Z2 kit. So contains what we've discussed in the past. And similarly, we have a vehicle kit. So again, depending on the vehicle, it may just be a cable to connect to the vehicle. In most cases, includes an SEM mount. We'll go into this in a bit more detail when we get to the quoting options. There's a valve or a hose. It will include the valve or hose, include the WAS if required. In most situations, again, we'll see this in the example. Includes the installation instructions. Comes in handy. And follows similar part numbers to the previous kits. Instead of 4100, 950, 4200, 200. So, talking about kits and profiles. Reminder, some of the new profiles that were available in version 1.2, which was released with the recent in-command display firmware, added fence steer ready profiles, added some Deutz, the new AFS can steer machines. Just a reminder there that there's the unlock required from C&H profile for the 4,000, 8,000 JCBs. Added ratiometric hydraulic profiles for the generics. So in the generic options, we can now steady steer ISO, 2 different hydraulic options. Recently released kits is the kit for the new Magnums and Steigers. Reminder about the unlock. Hydraulic valve kits have been released. We've got some on order. I believe they're shipping from the States hopefully this week, so we should see them late March. The point from the previous here about the ratiometric hydraulic profiles from a valve perspective, we were developing our own valve. Problems there, so we have purchased and kitted with Danfoss off-the-shelf valve ratiometrics. So different valve to what we've been used to, but good to see them, and we'll let you know when they're available. Option there for high flow, open and closed center. So, and for the Deutz Fendt Valtra, our Europe friends have been making up their own generic cable for connecting to the diagnostic port. So if you hit any of these machines, let us know in support, and we can help you through that. So with the change in to the SCM, changing the size, our mounting bracket kits have been revised. So we do have a reference document on some of the different brackets that we have available, constantly adding and revising them as required. So. I know that a lot of dealers have been doing, I guess, retrofits to old valve systems. So some of the cables that are available for that is the new universal cable, which breaks out to our 3-pin for the wheel angle sensor, our pressure for the pressure sensor. To use the existing pressure sensor, we need an adapter cable to go with that, and then our steer left and right, and then enable. So some modification required there. I know that there is a cable in development for to adapt to the 4-pin weather pack on the existing valves. With the HYDAC valve, you can plug that straight into the valve anyway. So again, if you're in that situation, going to an old valve, contact support, and we can help you help you through what you need for that. But been some successful steering installs there. So yeah, as I say, give us a call if you need help. Go through here. With the release, new wheel angle sensor, it's included with vehicle-specific kits. Steadysteer still doesn't use a wheel angle sensor. Can use the legacy wheel angle sensors. Thing to note is that even though the sensor actually looks the same, the pinout is slightly different, so need to reverse some pins for that to work. Just a few different part numbers there. Generic WAS linkage and mounting kits are available. So nothing too different there from a mounting perspective. Slightly different brackets. Yeah. What actually changed with the wheel angle sensor? The older wheel angle sensor was a potentiometer, being a physical contacts, wear and fail over time. The new one is Hall effect based sensor, so what we're seeing is a more reliable and consistent readings. And again, being non-contact based means that the sensor shouldn't wear out. So the last one in the components for remote engage. Point that I was wanting to make from this, as that steady steer now connects to the main harness, not separately on the second connector. There is no remote engage on the cable. So for the steady steer, to use a remote engage, need this adapter cable. It's 400511 4-1. For any other cable, any cable that connects into the grey connector, there is a remote engage connector on it. So. Got any other questions that have come in there, Harry, on any of this, or?
No, we seem to be all good.
Everyone's asleep. Okay, installation and setup. Got a video here that goes through the calibration process. So hopefully the sound will work on this.
In this video, we will cover the process of setting up a vehicle and steering profile, as well as a full calibration for Steer Command Z2. Understanding how to accurately create a vehicle steering profile and navigate through the calibration process will ensure successful auto steering performance. First, we must create a vehicle. This can be done one of three ways: by creating an operating configuration in any of the home screen operation apps, or by creating a vehicle in the vehicle setup screen, Or, lastly, you will be given the option to create a new vehicle before entering the steer command settings. We will be using this method to create the vehicle. To access the steer command settings, you must first tap the setup wrench on the home screen, then tap GPS guidance setup. Verify that steer command Z2/Steadysteer is selected from the steering drop-down menu, then tap the wrench. Next, tap the green plus to enter the vehicle wizard. Select your vehicle type, then specify your vehicle make and model from the drop-down menus. For this example, our vehicle is a Case IH 6130 Combine. If you happen to be calibrating a front-wheeled steered vehicle, you first specify the type from the drop-down menu, then select your make and model. If your vehicle make and model are not listed, you may select a custom vehicle, then manually type in the make and model. Tap the next arrow. For the remainder of the setup steps, be sure to have a measuring tape on hand for measuring all offsets. Now, enter the antenna offsets for the vehicle. If your vehicle is equipped with dual track, measure as if there was a single receiver centered on the cab. We will then be accounting for dual track offsets in a later step. Tap the next arrow. Verify the name of the vehicle is as desired, and if so, tap the green check. Now, we can see our newly created vehicle as the active vehicle and profile. We are now ready to start the vehicle calibration. First, make sure you are in a large open area for the calibration. Second, you will need to be outside with a valid GPS signal in order to proceed. Tap Full Calibration to begin. Select the auto steer control method for your vehicle. The control methods will vary depending on the vehicle make and model that was created. For this example, our vehicle is a steer-ready Case IH 6130 Combine, and it is an AccuGuide-ready vehicle. Tap the green check. We are now presented again with the antenna offsets. These will be the same as what we previously entered. If dual track is present, tap the checkbox. This will automatically enter a 27-inch offset to the left for the master receiver. Steer command assumes the entire dual track assembly is centered on the cab. If it is not, account for the additional left or right offsets at this time. Tap the next arrow. Enter the wheelbase measurement. Tap the next arrow. Next, enter the steering control module offsets. Measure to the center of the steering control module for all offsets, and tap the next arrow. As you proceed through the entire calibration, you will be presented with icons and animations to inform the operator of what to expect during the specific calibration step. When this icon appears, that means the system will be steering the vehicle. When this icon appears, the operator will need to manually steer the vehicle. Tap the next arrow. The first calibration is for the steering kickout. This will determine what manual override sensor is being used. In the first step, center the steering system, then tap Step Complete. Next, rotate the steering wheel 1/2 turn to the left. Tap Step Complete. Rotate the steering wheel 1/2 turn to the right and tap Step Complete. The sensor type should now be detected and displayed. Verify it is correct per your specific installation and tap the next arrow. We must now set the manual steering threshold to point at which auto steer disengages. First, turn the steering wheel with the same aggressiveness you would typically use to disengage auto steer. A blue bar will increase in the threshold box, and a high point will be recorded. Next, drag the slider somewhere just below the high point. This threshold reading will now be the point when auto steer is disengaged by manually turning the steering wheel. plus and minus buttons may be used to make small incremental adjustments. You can test this threshold by turning the steering wheel again. If the kick-out reading surpasses the set point, you will hear an audible alarm. This alarm indicates steering will be disengaged. If you must turn the steering wheel very hard to get the audible alarm, consider lowering the set point. This step may be repeated as needed to meet the operator's preference. The sensitivity slider will be present for all pressure style sensors. It may be adjusted if an operator ever experiences erratic kickout values or false kickouts while auto steering. Tap the green check. The next step will be the wheel angle sensor calibration. Begin by driving the vehicle in a straight line. Be sure to keep the vehicle in the specified speed range. Tap the next arrow. The vehicle will begin to calibrate for the center point of the angle sensor. Next, the vehicle will begin an automated turn sequence. While still moving forward, tap the next arrow to begin. The vehicle will make a full right turn, then a full left turn. It is now calibrating the outside points of the angle sensor. If the automated turn sequence is unintentionally disengaged repeatedly by the kickout sensor, that means the kickout set point is likely too sensitive. To adjust, pause the calibration, then tap Adjust Kickout. Upon completion of the wheel angle calibration, you will be automatically advanced into the valve calibration. This calibration will be the longest and require the most space to complete. During the valve calibration, it is calibrating the valve deadband, steering rates, and stability. If in any step the vehicle begins to steer near any obstacles, the pause button may be used. The vehicle repositioned, then tap Resume to continue to the calibration. This step of the calibration may also be completed in forward or reverse. After the valve calibration, there will be another wheel angle calibration that is similar to the first. It will make another left and right turn. It is calibrating additional left and right angle sensor points. Finally, the last calibration is for the SCM orientation. You will want to position the vehicle on flat, level ground. Put the vehicle in park, then tap the next arrow to start calibrating. Next, turn the vehicle around and position it in the same location. Put the vehicle in park, then tap the next arrow to start calibrating. For the last two steps, the vehicle will perform an automated turn sequence as it determines the orientation of the steering control module. Drive forward within the specified speed range, then tap the next arrow to start calibrating. The calibration has now been completed successfully. Tap the green check to accept. You are now able to successfully complete the vehicle setup and profile calibration for a Steer Command Z2 system. If you'd like to see more short tutorials from Agli,
So has everyone gone to sleep, or have people learnt, or hopefully everyone's still awake. Um, my polling. So to see if everyone's awake, another poll. Have you installed a new system yet? If so, how did you find it performed? We've got 5 people that are awake, 5 out of the 10. Any more people awake? 6. Three. Can I get past 7? Don't think so. End the poll. So it looks like a fair few of you have purchased a new system and are still waiting for it to potentially a machine to show up so that you can install it. So hopefully that video was of use as to the process of what you go through. Slightly different for a Steadysteer install, but yeah, it shouldn't be too hard. Most of it's pretty self-explanatory with what's on the screen. So. Okay, in the situation, moving on to the troubleshooting. Troubleshooting process hasn't changed too much, but a few of the things I want to just cover off on. Updating firmware, some diagnostic screens, and some ideas with the poor steering performance. Discussing in a little bit more detail, talking about this manual override and the safety system. CAN vehicles, logging CAN system errors. And the last one is a specific error message for some John Deere machines that we're seeing. Go from there. Same troubleshooting process, still the same basic supply. First point, check to see if there's any firmware updates available. Make sure that your measurements are correct. Sure to be calibrating at operating revs and conditions. Especially important on the valve installs where people doing it at an idle need to be running it at proper operating revs. Like the ECU, SEM has gyros and a whole heap of sensors in it. Needs to be mounted to something solid that's vibration free. First point, do the first cal. If it's really awful, try running the calibration routine again. And other one there with the valve installs is our wheel angle sensor is key to good performance as well. So comes to updating firmware. So SCM version 1.2 was included with 6.2 of the in-command firmware. Just like any other module of ours, now new display firmware. Once the SCM is detected, it's going to automatically be updated, just like any other module. As you can see there, it actually shows up in the module firmware list as well. So, this link, see with the integration that we've got between steering profiles and vehicle profiles, there is important as well for the in-command firmware and the SCM firmware to actually match for to work properly. Yeah, not possible to be running a really old version of display firmware and new version of SCM. They've got to match, so that's a key one. So. As I said, wheel angle sensors important. These installation points haven't really changed too much from the old system. We're looking for a 50 to 60,000 count range, so we want as much range as possible to give us as much resolution as possible. Ideally, we want the counts balanced left to right. So ideally within, say, 5,000 counts of each other. So most are familiar with the parallelogram linkage style of install. Other option that is discussed in the installation instructions is the potential of a Z linkage install. Again, it's explained quite well in the installation instructions about how to do this, how to, from a geometry perspective, how best to attack installing a wheel angle sensor. Like the ECUS1 has a vibration tool. One thing that is added on this is this quality indicator. You can see here we've got this quality indicator, pretty standard there. Green is good, red is bad, yellow is potentially a problem. So, and the same sort of solutions. Move the SCM somewhere else. Isolate the SCM option there. Put some O-rings around the mounting screws. Another one that can cause a problem is something actually sitting or touching on top of the SCM. So. Also has been added in latest firmware is valve diagnostics, showing us our duty cycles and gain. Again, this is more from a diagnostic perspective rather than a troubleshooting solution perspective. Looking for our gain values, be able to see whether our right and our left are the same, to see whether we might have a problem with some physical component in the valve. So Other troubleshooting tool is the logs that are captured in the SEM. A large range there of ways to export based on time. We can also now select based on a specific date range. So long as the log is still actually contained within the memory of the SEM. So. This is more just to help us with the diagnostics, actually see more details of what's on the can with the ISO vehicles. Some potential there to send messages as well for diagnostic purposes as well. So. One to note, I thought it was of benefit as regarding steering free play with a steady steer. There is a free play setting that's in there, like with the on track, to account for worn steering components. The default value is 5, and the fact that it's 1 to 10 range. Have seen this on some machines where 5 is too high, so we're actually getting a twitchy movement. From what the testing team has seen, a value of 2 or 3 is actually more appropriate for a well-maintained steering system. So those installing on a brand new machine, seeing it feels like the steady steer is overreacting, or isn't doing nice small changes. It may be a case of needing to decrease the steering play value. Other diagnostic screens is the wheel angle sensor graph. This is where our valve control is as well. Key things to note is some of these diagnostics require some of the items that are in here won't show up until a calibration has been started or attempted. I guess background on that, the first question when we start a calibration is what steering method are we using? So be it steady steer or ISO or ratiometric, auto track, that sort of thing. So this, some of these screens change depending on what's selected. Again, depends on how far through the calibration we've got. For instance, in this wheel angle sensor screen, we've got our two red lines which show our maximum and minimum wheel angle values. We have this value sitting here, this 45 degrees as it's set there. So this is actually a steer to angle or step size change at least. So this isn't available unless the wheel angle sensor has been calibrated. So yeah, if anyone's wanting to go on and verify an install before doing the calibration. So we need to at least start the calibration, and then you can come in here and manually turn left or turn right. Much like the other steering systems, under our GPS tab, we have a steer command tab showing us what the current build is, whether our GPS is of good enough quality for us to steer, communication, calibration, some things like that, and what vehicle profiles available. We also have an events log, which has a log of any error messages or the like, so we can see, say a customer was complaining about it constantly kicking out. We can actually come in here and see the event log and see what the actual error message is that's been coming up, and diagnose from there. So it was discussed in that video. When we're doing the calibration, the system detects what type of sensors being used. So be it pressure encoder, a reverse polarity pressure sensor, maybe it's current. So be it or an encoder. But how does this actually work with this safety system that we talk of? So the safety system is a feature that's been added to ensure kick-out functionality. So it's a system that runs on a separate processor in the SCM, so is separate to the display. So what is the meaning behind, or the idea behind it is, say for some reason communication's lost with the display or the standard system, the safety system is still going to ensure that the steering system can be kicked out. Safety system also monitors some other errors in the system. Say there was a fault, we had a ground or a short on the valve itself, it's going to kick the system out as well. So from a diagnostic perspective, we need to know whether it's the safety system or the kick-out sensor that is actually doing the kick-out. And the way that we can do this, or tell this, is from those warning messages. So if in that event log or on the screen we get a message, operator turned wheel, the kick-out was from the kick-out sensor and was the system was working correctly. If we get any of these other messages, it means that the safety system was preventing or kicked out the system. So always has been like this from a support. The first question that we're going to ask is, you're getting an error message, what is the actual wording of the error message? So important for to get the actual wording from the customer before. Before calling support. So this leads to, if this safety system is causing the system to kick out, maybe we can't engage. Support is able to provide a service unlock for the SEM, which allows the system to be overridden. Key things to note: it resets after 4 months or after upgrading the firmware. So this is not a service unlock, is not a solution. This is a way to both diagnose, but for those short-term situations where we need to get a customer up and going. If the worst comes to worst, we can provide a manual switch for the kick out, but that is a last case resort. So, and as I say, the safety system monitors more than just the kick out. So, and it's an important system that we've put in there to ensure the safety of the operator. So. Touched on the SEM logs that are available. Support has the ability here to view those logs. Allows us to check the vehicle configurations and any of the error messages. Also is helpful, the ag data file, so the coverage of the event, so that we can visualize that a bit easier as to what the customer was actually doing when the problem occurred. Recommendation at the moment is, if you're having a problem with calibration or performance, it's a starting point, export logs. Even if we solve the problem via support, engineering and testing would like to see the logs to be able to understand, see where they may be able to improve the calibration or just the system performance in general. And the last one that we've seen is an error message, this vehicle implement release control. Seeing it on ISO R series John Deere's memory, the main one that's been seen on has been the smaller 6Rs, but yeah, solution here is we do have a version 1.3 of the SEM firmware that is available from support if needed, but that's all that's in it, hence why we haven't distributed it. So any questions on that, on troubleshooting, before we get on to ordering?
Darren, did you just want to unmute and ask your question from before?
Has he disappeared? No, he's unmuted. Yep.
You hear me?
Yep.
Just back there when we're doing the valve, I see the minimums with a percentage. Can we change that, Andrew? Or is that a technician thing?
If I go back.
Yeah.
The edit.
So
down the bottom here.
Yeah, well, left and minimum ride and gains. Can we play with those numbers or not?
I believe so. They can be, that's what the edit button is for. The main one that they've had is this optimization value, this down here. In the background, it's been referred to as the KP val, I believe. So yes, it is possible to change them. I'm not sure whether that requires the dealer password or a higher password. Dealer password is extremely complex. It's DP for dealer password. So,
Don't want anyone on the head know that one.
yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
so yes, there is potential there to change those values. I guess the point I wanted to pull out from that is being able to see those values. You sort of see there we've got a left gain of closer to 1, whereas the right gain's at 0.4. So it suggests that we may have something going on with the valve there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, because when we're mucking around the harvesters, it would have been really good to have that.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
Any other questions there? Okay. So what's that? Sounds like Sandy's working in the background and has checked that is available without the password. So. Okay, it sounds like a lot of you have ordered a system so far, but wanted to highlight using the system configurator. In some situations, the SEM mounting bracket or the WAS components are not included in some kits. This is due to just some variation in the, rather than having another complete kit, we've kept it as one kit and just pulled out, for instance, the wheel angle sensor or slight variations in cabs, meaning a different SEM mounts required. So beauty of using the configurator is that it's going to pick and add those items to the cart for you based on the vehicle you select, or at least give you the option of changing whether you require it or not. So it's easy to use guide and checklist so that you don't miss anything, and it comes in handy for Steadysteer where we're needing to know what SEM mounting bracket to use. Best way to do this, do a couple of walkthrough guides using this like an 8430 auto track ready deer. So for this particular system, we'll be going to a Z2 and TerraStar C Pro. So yes, no easy way for a show of hands here, but how many people use the configurator? Let's see.
Thumbs up reaction.
Yep, people have got thumbs up reactions. yeah, it sounds like you guys are people that are responding. Most of you are using it. That is good. I'll just step through the different steps here, just so that the benefit of the people that are not in attendance, and just try and explain what we're really asking in the different questions. So when we start the configurator, we first need to select what the product category is. So in this particular situation, we're talking guidance and steering. So we can do, if we're looking at direct command or working out yield monitoring or something else like that, we'd be selecting one of the other ones. We'll start with the guidance and steering. First question is regarding which display we would like. So I feel that's pretty straightforward. So in this situation, we're going the larger 1200. See here, we've got the Steadysteer bundle is included here because it includes the display. We've also got the option, maybe the customer has already got an existing display. But, again, we're stepping now from display to the GPS component. Saying here, the bundle, we can go with the 75, bundles that with the 7500. Dual track, we just go the display kit, but anyway, bundling that because we're going to steer command. As we can see in the bottom of the screen, as we're doing going through these steps, we're actually adding the components to the bottom. So if you're ever wondering what the different steps do, you can select them and see what changes at the bottom. Correction source, TerraStar Seek Pro. Which display cable kit, again, 15 foot for the, we're only offering the two options there, either the 15 foot or the 22 foot. All that changes is the power cable. That one is just a reminder if you're wanting to connect it to the ISA bus on the tractor for implement control, remember to go to the system reference page. Again, we've got our GPS component sorted. What steering controller are we going to use? Note in this situation, there's no distinction between whether it's the CAN only or the complete, the master unlocked one. That will get chosen based on what vehicle we select. And now we're asking what vehicle to work out what kit. So two-wheel drive and front wheel assist. John Deere. And then going through and and selecting the vehicle. And then when we get to the end of the questions, we get completed at the top, and then our whole long list of different things that that have been added. A lot of these things are added as a prompt to, so hopefully things don't get missed. Things like maybe the customer wants to unlock it for display cast. Adding unlocks for the display. One that people often see in question on here is this 4005587 with no description. This particular item is the BR1 mini kit that the US uses for display cast and the likes for the hotspot in the tractor. We don't sell that part down here, so it's not available in our system for order, but the configurator is shared between the two systems, hence why it gets added. So those that have been wondering about this random part, set it to 0 and good to go. So really just working through all the entering the valid quantities. So in this particular case, we get to the bottom. And for those familiar with the 30 series or the 20 and the 30 series, depending on the kit, we may need to add a wheel angle sensor to it, depending on whether it's a solid axle or the independent link suspension. So just selecting the right, which one's required, and we get rid of all the reds, and then our add to cart will be available. So fairly straightforward. Other thing that is the same with the John Deere's comes down to the SCM mounting brackets. Yeah, another one of those ones that you may get multiple options for. So. Okay. Quickly run through doing it for the same vehicle for a steady steer, but using RTK instead. Selecting guidance and steering. Again, use the 800 this time. Still sticking with the 7500 because I need it for RTK. Selecting my RTK. Again, the display cable kit. Selecting steady steer. Same selections for the tractors. The list is slightly different as different kits and brackets for these tractors. So selecting the right kit. Again, I've got all my valid quantities that I need to enter for these unlocks and the likes. One to highlight is apparently Doug's had a few questions on this. Has about this vehicle switch kit. Do I need to add one? No, the vehicle, like the steady steer kit, comes with everything that you need. The reason why this has been added is for that a situation where you're quoting out to switch to a different vehicle. So we can come here and we can change that steady steer kit down to 0 and add up the switch kit, and we will have everything else that we need to do the install. So hopefully that is as clear as mud. Another quick one on the ordering is finding a part listed as not for sale. Number of reasons why a part can be listed not for sale. As alluded to, the order system is shared between our company and AIMS. So in the States, a lot of the harnesses are no longer stocked. They've all sold out for the legacy kits. So that's one reason why it will be marked as not for sale, is because they're all out of it and that part has been marked as obsolete. However, there is potential that we will still have it in stock. So give us a call, talk to Darren, see whether it's in stock. Could be, if that's the case, then it's still available for sale. Another reason why an item might be listed as not for sale is that it's a new part. Obviously, we're adding kits and cables and everything all the time, so it could be a case of just needing a setting change to allow it to be ordered. So if you see this message, this not for sale, then at least call us. Don't take it as being gospel. So just touching on legacy systems and what we have and what we don't have. So as it stands, on-track 3s and legacy steer commands are completely sold out. Kits and cables for them are limited. If you're chasing unlocks for Paradigm, for the ECUS1 steer commands, they are available from Kentronics. And another one note here is for geosteers and paradigms on the cores network. Due to some background changes on servers and the likes, any of these using the internal cell modem, they're going to stop working as of the end of this month. So it was originally communicated that it was shutting at December 31st, but has been a grace period. So if you have any customers in that situation, please reach out to them and make contact. So that's covering off the legacy stuff. New stuff availability. You may be aware that there's a large demand worldwide for precision ag equipment, and Ag Leader is experiencing that demand. We're having the best start to our year that we've ever had. So, which is good, and I'm sure hopefully you guys are seeing that as well. This is leading to longer than normal lead times from the US. We are in a similar situation, getting equipment from Ames. So we have good stock of in commands, steer commands, steady steers, and most cables and kits. We hope we have. But being a new steering system, it is difficult for us to make, to know exactly what we need. So our request from you guys, if you have a customer that has ordered or is going to need something, please place your order as soon as possible. More than happy if you know that you're not going to need it for another month. Place the order, ask for delayed delivery. You're not going to get billed for it until it leaves here. But from our perspective, it just helps Darren out in the warehouse know what he needs to have in stock, so that when you need it, we will have it. Similarly, just for us for forecasting of kit requirements, I know that Doug's been contacting a lot of you. We are this year is a little bit crazy with the kits that are being demanded, mainly due to what machines are available. We thought we normally see a lot of John Deere steering kits, like the new R series and that sort of thing. Sounds like they're hard to come by, so we've hardly sold any of them. Whereas Massey Ferguson's must have a heap of stock available, because we've been selling a lot of that stuff. Again, if be in contact to just see what you guys are actually quoting on, what customers are coming to you about, so that we can try and make sure that our stocking levels are where they need to be. So, well, that's nearly 2 hours of me talking. Open it up if anyone has any feedback or questions, any feedback for those that have installed so far. It would be good to know your experience. So feel free to unmute yourself or ask a question in chat. So any questions? It either means that everyone's asleep or all good. Okay, well, the phones have been ringing busy here in the background. Question from Richard. How responsive accuracy-wise is Steadysteer? I'm not 100% sure what you're asking. So compared to a valve system, the key thing distinguishing between a valve system and the steady steer, it comes down to speed. the speed that you're trying to operate at in the extremely low speeds. So I'm talking under 1 kilometre an hour scenario. Not having a wheel angle sensor can, reduce the accuracy, but I think from people's experience so far, its steady steer is really quite responsive. So I guess the best way to do it is get it on a machine and try it. Any other questions? So noted there, the recording will be made available via email. For those that want to go over it again. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to us if you've got any questions. So if there's nothing else, I'll close this off. And thank you everyone for coming and listening to me.